personality, blood, money. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here that would make for family drama. No, for real, exactly.
What's up, y'all? You're tuning in to the Here to Uplift podcast. If you've been here before, welcome back. And thank you for being a part of our Uplift community. If you're new here, woohoo! Thanks for joining us, and we hope you continue listening and engaging with our community, where we center the stories of inspiring and impactful entrepreneurs and community leaders. I'm Lolo Fisher, your host, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's get into it.
Welcome back to the Here to Uplift podcast. I'm your host, Lolo, and I'm excited to be here with my special guest, Bianca.
Hello.
Do you want to introduce yourself for us?
Yes, I'm Bianca Ashaolu. I am the CMO and co-founder of Nirvana Soul coffee purveyors. We are based in downtown San Jose and Cupertino. We've got a couple of shops now, a couple shops on the way, and hoping to continue expanding and bringing the community together through the power of coffee and tea.
Ooh, and you are definitely doing that. That's why I love it. So we're actually here in the Cupertino location for anybody that's watching the video format of this. And this is my first time in the Cupertino location. I've been to the downtown San Jose one multiple times for open mic night. Was one of the first few times we went, actually. So that was like super exciting.
It's always fun. Yeah. What do you think of Cupertino?
So because we live in Cupertino right now, it's so interesting that I'm always going to the San Jose one.
I know, you're passing us up. And it's good vibes here too.
But
we don't do open mics at this one, but it's still good vibes all day.
You can see the difference though, because when I go to the San Jose one, it's more like have a little higher energy. It's more upbeat. The music's usually louder, right? There's a lot of like students that go there too, so you get like that energy.
I like to say it's a little chiller. Downtown is like the turn up, and Cupertino is like the cool down. That's how I like to say, because people come here and they're focused, and sometimes they're like, I started my day in downtown, got that energy up, and now I'm here because I have things to get done.
That's exactly it. Yes, I'm gonna start doing that.
People come to both in a day.
Yeah. So I think most of the time I'm needing that energy. So the downtown location has been perfect, but this I'm liking, because these days, now having a baby, I'm like, I just need something close that I can just kind of relax. But I love it. Okay, so your two locations, Cupertino and downtown. You said two on the way.
We've got a couple on the way. We are partnering with San Jose State on a location on their campus, and that'll be opening sometime this year, hopefully in the first half of the year, at the Martin Luther King Library. Yes. And then we also have a Nirvana Soul Express shop that is at Hotel Dianza in downtown San Jose.
Oh, okay. Wait, so what's an express shop? Just something
smaller?
So
it's a limited menu. It's a one barista shop, so it's small. It's kind of just a get in and get out, but we still do waffles there, and we have just a smaller menu of drinks.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so I knew about the MLK location, but I did not know about the hotel location.
I know. It's still in the works to get it fully like there, but it's very, very close now, and we'll probably be promoting it over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Okay, so co-founder, co-owner of Nirvana Soul, what was the journey? That's like the juice I want to get today. I want to know, like, how did you think up Nirvana Soul? How did you decide on making this a family venture? And like, what was that journey? The journey was wild.
It was wild. It took us about 2 years to open, from when my sister, Dronica, who's our CEO, and I were finally in the same place at the same time. So we had decided together, physically. She lived in Sacramento for 10 years prior. And she's the one who's been in coffee. So her entire like adult career has been coffee on and off. She's like managed jobs. She's been a barista. She's done it all in coffee, but she's always wanted her own business. And so even the name Nirvana Soul, she had 10 years before we even opened. She just knew that it was something she wanted to do. And my background in my career is in tech. So we're from San Jose, born and raised. It's kind of just the water I swim in. So like I fell into it, and I've been in it still as a marketer. And so together about now, coming on 6 years ago, we decided we were going to try to make her vision a reality. She moved back home to San Jose. It was perfect timing. We had no idea what we were doing. And so literally like Google search how to open a coffee shop in San Jose. And that's kind of the beginning of it.
Oh, wow. Okay, so did you have help when you did that? Or was it like, we're going to figure this out one step at a time?
No, we didn't have much help. So there was like some things we kind of just knew. Like we need money. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, this is not going to be free.
Right.
So we have to figure out how to get money. And in some way, I don't know, in the ether, I'm like, oh, an SBA loan. That's how you get money for businesses in this country. So we started looking into that, just Google University, just doing our own research. And then I was like, the city must have some programs for small businesses. So I sent out just a cold email out to the city. And we were so lucky that someone responded who is like really instrumental in getting a lot of small businesses off the ground, mostly in like your San Pedro Square markets or your sofa markets, where it's almost like vendor pop-ups that are there even just temporarily or go on to be in their own brick and mortar locations. So that person responded to us and was with us every step of the way, just explaining things, introducing us to people. Yeah, he was just the best and was there at our ribbon cutting when we finally did open our location in downtown. And then we just sort of step by step figured it out. We do one search that would lead us to another thing. We hosted a pitch party with our friends and family so that we can try to raise some money. And that led to our first money that we got, which was a neighbor and friend of mine who gave us $500. And we were like, okay, now we're in it. Now we got to really do this. There's money on the table. Yeah, exactly. And then we just like really pieced it together little by little, and just pushed each other, held each other accountable, and started talking about it like it was really going to happen.
Yeah, I like that. I appreciate that too, because the 2 years it took before you actually started, I think is what usually is behind the scenes that people don't realize. Like, they're sitting on a dream, sitting on it, but actually making it happen is the harder part.
It is, and we talked about it for that reason too. Like, we wanted to be very loud about what we were working on. Like, we know some people are like, make your moves in silence. We weren't those people at all. Like, we were extra loud, telling anyone who listened. Like, Dronica was driving Lyft at the time, and so, you know, a Lyft driver gonna tell you how they're gonna start a business, and she was that person. In fact, we had printed up business cards, like with just her email on it, Nirvana Soul, free drink when we open, and she would hand those out to people. We had nothing. There was no location, nothing at all. She would just like, when I open my shop, here's this card. And some people brought them in too when we opened. They were just like, I believed you. But yeah, we just worked together. I had started a blog early on, so there's like a year and a half.
Or just happened that way?
No, it was strategic, and then I wanted to share our journey, like the good, bad, and ugly. And we also just didn't know where to turn, and so we wanted to be a resource to anyone who was coming behind us. So we can share the roadblocks we were having, any challenges, and also like any successes and things that we were figuring out. We thought it would just be helpful for the next batch of people who were trying, and also helpful for us to just keep that visibility up, document it, and make sure we were staying on top of our stuff.
Yeah, and that transparency is beautiful because we don't share enough. I talk about this all the time, but especially with women entrepreneurs, it seems like we're almost forced into this mindset of competition when I'm like, we're all going to do better if we just share with each other 100%. How we got there.
100%. And even specialty coffee itself was pretty insular, and so there's a lot of gatekeeping around how you were doing it, how you got there, like what your books look like. And we were just asking anyone. If they said no, we were like, fine, whatever. But there were some yeses. There was a shop that was willing to show us, what their P&L looked like. And so that was really helpful for us. There were like people in the city that we reached out to who were able to give us information. And not everything was super helpful, but I just feel like if you keep chipping away, you'll get the stuff that you need. And there were enough nuggets for us to like figure out how to move forward whenever we were feeling stuck.
Good. Okay. So when you started, was it all three of you, your husband and your sister?
No. My husband might say it was kind of him because we kept asking him every math question there was.
But
like, we are not mathematicians, okay? Like, me and my sister are in our own lanes. Like, she's the coffee person, I'm the marketer, and there was
needed that one.
Numbers person.
We needed that one piece.
Yeah, and his background is in finance and sales. So I just be like, hey, what does this mean?
I mean, that's part of marriage, right? Like,
exactly. And so eventually, as we were turning the corner and actually opening, I was like, should you just join us full time? Because you've already been doing everything. And I know having him here we were saying earlier, being the perfectionist that he is, being so thorough, being so curious, his willingness to just learn everything there is about anything. Like, we needed that because I move fast. Like, so I'm going to cut a corner here and there, but it's going to get us there quickly. And he's going to be like, hold on now, did you consider this? Did you think about that? And so I'm like, okay, I guess we're going to take a minute and figure this out for real. Yeah.
Would you say that that's a piece of advice for up and coming entrepreneurs or business owners, is to just take action, or from learning like through your own experience, would you recommend against it?
I have a crazy bias for action, and I'm always going to be on the side of just doing it. So like we say, we can do hard things, and to me that is the thing that pushes us to just take action. Because you'll spend a lot of time planning and thinking through and writing it all out and all that, and that can paralyze you sometimes because even that much information can be overwhelming. So this is something that I think has been natural to me and my personality. It's not so natural for my sister even. Like, that's why it's taken her 20 years to open her own shop, you know, because
you gave her that push though.
There's so many things you have to think about, and it's so scary. And like, obviously failure is very possible, like at every stage of it. Even when you're open, there's like more points of failure. And so like, I think that I'm a person who tries to be consistent, and you just put things out there. If it doesn't work, you just have another day tomorrow to try something else. And you'll never know what is possible if you are sitting back and waiting. Like, I'm maybe just an impatient person. I see green lights everywhere. I don't want to have to wait.
Okay, so then do you believe in backup plans?
That's a great question. I don't think I've ever been asked that. Do I believe in backup plans? Maybe not. Maybe not. I think we're all in on Nirvana Soul. Like, yes, I still have my day job. Like, that's the role I play in the business still, is like, someone's got to pay these expensive San Jose bills. And so that is the part I play. But in game for us is for Nirvana Soul to succeed. And I said this in one of our earlier interviews when we were first opening. Like, if we're going to fail, let's fail spectacularly. Like, let's fail to the point where, like, our shit's in shambles. You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with that. Like, I want to know we did everything possible to make this thing work, and left it all on the court. And at the end of the game, if we lose, have nothing to feel bad about.
That's beautiful and scary at the same time.
It's terrifying.
And I say it because for me, that was like what I was sharing with you is one of the scary points, just based on my upbringing, was everything was like security. And I think that's for the culture a lot of times.
No,
like,
100%.
Our families, the last two generations, like struggled so much that they're like, go get your 9-to-5, be stable. And they want to see Black-owned businesses, but they don't want to see the journey and process of what it takes to get a Black-owned business going and alive.
And there's not a lot of support. Most Black-owned businesses fail. I mean, most businesses fail, but Black-owned businesses are failing at much higher rates. We don't have a lot of the resources. We don't have the financial backing. There's so many reasons why this is an impossible thing to do. And you're saying, like, previous generations, I'm with you. Like, our current generation's out here struggling. You know what I mean? Like, it's still really hard. And so to make a choice to go do something that has the likeliness of failure is like pretty unheard of, especially when you're Black. So this was big for our family. Like, we're from San Jose, so our family's here. They take a lot of pride in Nirvana Soul and it being here and having gotten the praise that it's gotten. It just means so much to us. Because we're not taking these kind of risks because it's not always safe to take that kind of risk.
It's true. So have you had some of the downs in these past 6 years that like scared you getting to failure in Nirvana Soul potentially?
The scariest thing for us is probably trying to ensure that we can maintain like financing, right? Like, that is always the biggest challenge. It's been the challenge since before we opened, was figuring out how to try to get money, and then it's always a challenge figuring out how to keep money. And that's not
especially
unique.
During COVID.
Especially during COVID. That's not unique to our business. Like, the margins for coffee shops are really slim. So we try our best to, like, now we're doing like some inventory things and we're looking at other revenue streams and other ways we can make money and just want to be able to support our team. Like that's the most important. And San Jose is crazy. Like it is hard to live here. And so I know minimum wage will go up, and now cost of goods going up with inflation. It is just a very rough time to be in business. And so we're just always going to do everything we can to stay, to be here. Yeah.
Right. Any scary moments though where you weren't sure if you would survive? It's been 6 years. So you're like all the time, every day. Every month
some days feel better than others. Like you can come into the shops and you see people in there, and the line is like,
but that doesn't necessarily mean
wow, we're
behind
really
the scenes
doing it.
Good. Or is it?
No, I think behind the scenes it's fine, right? Like we're learning as we go, and for some reason we have been very organized. Maybe that's the preparedness of being Black. Like we have done a lot to ensure that we just are on top of things. We are doing our books regularly. My husband, again, being in finance, that helps a lot. We have a lot of materials. This is stuff that we've put in place over time. We're trying to get more processes in place and systems and things that will help us scale and bring people on the team and have them come on in a way that's not too crazy. But we're not perfect at it. So like we give ourselves a lot of grace, but you also have people who are relying on you. So we have to do certain things the right way, and we just try our best.
No, that makes sense. And I like that you said it as like the preparedness kind of being Black, because we have to go above and beyond in everything we do. And I wish it wasn't that way, but that is the truth.
I know. It's unfortunately still the case. And we will talk to like younger Black people and younger brown people, and they're like, it shouldn't be like that. I'm like, y'all are absolutely right. And I hope for you it isn't that way. It would be lovely to not have to work harder than everybody else to get half as much. Like that's the dream we should all aspire. That has not been our situation. Like we have had to be excellent. Like nothing can go wrong. We don't get that kind of grace. Like we can't mess up that way. And so we tried not to mess up, but it happens, of course.
Of course. And it's true. And it's interesting to me because the need to be excellent is almost daunting. Like it's a heavy weight to carry, but also our ability to be excellent is like, yes, damn right, we got that. Like the fact that we can go above and beyond is just so beautiful for our culture. Yeah,
we definitely have a way of persevering and being resilient and all those things. And I'm with you. I've had to learn myself, like that can't be all that we are. Like our story has to have more dimension than that. And so like, we try to keep that in mind just personally, me and my sister, like how are we enjoying our lives in a full way, not just in like be strong, power through, do what you got to do. Obviously the business demands that sometimes, but I think there's also something beautiful in showing that softer side of like, okay, this is actually really hard and we're doing what we can, but this shit might fall apart.
I don't remember who I was speaking with recently, but they were talking about the soft girl era, right? This like trend, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that because it's beautiful.
We're old.
I like the aesthetic of it, but it's like to even get that soft girl era, you have to work your butt off.
So hard. I know.
You got to work your butt off, and most of the time, those soft girls, as we're saying, at least have a couple hours in the day where they aren't soft and they're hustling their butt off to keep it going.
It is so true. It is so true. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. The aesthetic sounds good and it seems cool, and I would love that for all of us. All of us deserve, right? However, we're not there yet, I think.
We'll get there maybe one day. I don't know. I think part of me kind of is addicted to the hustle. Like, I just love working even when I get a chance to be like, I'll just sit back and relax. I'm like, I should be doing something. Why don't I do something?
I really had to work on over the last couple of years.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there's unlimited things to do when you're a business owner, and I mean, you're doing your own thing. So this thing can be as big as you can work it to be, and when you're not working, it's sitting. It's a very hard thing to do, to say, I'm going to turn this off for this moment and then come back to it.
Right, because the business is a piece of you. It is.
Yeah, it is.
As a small business, I would say, like, I think there's some folks who can get detached, especially when it's like product-based or things. Like, you can detach yourself, but when it's a space that brings people together, it becomes a piece of you and a representation of you.
And it was born out of that too. Like me and my sister really wanted to create our relationship in a physical space. Like we don't take shit seriously. Like we are just cutting up all the time. We are just very joyful, happy people, very colorful and vibrant. And so we were like, how do we get this relationship to be a space where other people can come and find community and let down their hair and relax and feel some self-care in that. And also like feel safe in that this space is inclusive and accessible and welcoming and not intimidating. You know, we wanted anyone to be able to come into Nirvana Soul, which is why you'll see so much diversity in our customer base and in our community.
Yes, I absolutely see that. And I think this is a good time to bring up what we were talking about before we turned the cameras on. But, you know, when I moved here into San Jose, not being from here, I specifically was looking for, like, where is a hub of Black people? And at the same time, one of the reasons I fell in love with San Jose is how multicultural it is. Like, I love the diversity, especially as a mixed person and having a mixed baby, you know, like, I'm like, I want you to see everything, everybody, like, just feel the love of people.
That's the beauty of
San Jose
the
is
South
that
Bay.
for me.
Yeah,
I'm like, I love that. The whole South Bay area is just ideal for a cultural mix, but at the same time, you still want to feel those pockets where you're like, oh, this is my family. I see myself in these spaces. And Nirvana Soul was one of the few places that I knew I could find Black people at once somebody introduced me to it.
I love that so much. I really do. I mean, this is still for us by us, you know, even though it is multicultural and inclusive. We knew how special this was going to be for people who look like us, right? And so we take that very seriously, and we try to do our best to just like be great for people who are coming after us and who come into that space looking for other people who look like them. Like, you're not going really anywhere and seeing something like this on the wall. You know what I mean? Like artwork that has Black and brown faces, and it's so unheard of in anywhere you can go in the South Bay, really. And I think we've done a lot of our part to just put out more positive, joyful imagery that you typically just don't see. And so, that makes me feel good. I'm happy that you found
being in
that
your space
here.
makes me feel good. Like, y'all have done such an amazing job, truly. And the colorfulness to the vibrancy, you can feel the energy in each of the space. Even though it's my first time in the Cupertino location, I knew it in the downtown San Jose location. It was just like, oh, this energy, like when you want to be lifted, it's a great place to be.
Exactly what we were going for. We wanted it to feel like home.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm kind of curious, not on the Nirvana Soul side, but just as a Bay Area native and growing up in San Jose, because I'm struggling now. I have struggled. I'm not like struggling, but in a way, searching for the Black community has been challenging since moving here. So I'm curious, like, with you growing up in this area, like, what was that like? Did you see pockets of Black folks? Has it always been multicultural? Like, what was that like?
So I think San Jose used to have more Black people here. Okay. And that changed over time as the cost of living has just increased and people were moving out to places like Tracy and Modesto and things like that. And so there was a bit of an exodus, and I don't think we've ever really quite come back. And then when you're looking at the larger Bay Area, then you're like, Oakland is the place where there's Black people, or East Palo Alto, or wherever. Like, that's just where you would see more people who look like us. But I think there's still a lot of beauty in the diversity in San Jose that you literally can see anyone from any background. There's like, you see it represented in our food and in the culture and in the things that are celebrated here. Like, it is really widely diverse. So I get, like, the other side of that is that Black people are a very small percentage, and so there's not many Black-owned businesses. I don't really remember any growing up here
that was
that I can think of.
I was like, I wonder if this is new or if this has always been a challenge.
You know, I don't know. Like, outside of maybe like barbershops and salons and things, I can't really recall growing up and seeing a lot of Black-owned businesses, if any. So it feels new, and we, even in the time that we've been open, there's been so many more that have opened up too. A couple friends of ours, like a barber opened downtown, Headspace, new candle making shop, Ashy Aromas, is open even on our block in the South First Street now. People who are just doing this as vendors, like Perfect Choice, who's a baker and popped up a lot with us. there's so many more that have opened up in that time. And I think it's just, we found each other. Like maybe people were doing this in isolation, but now there's a central community that's growing where it's like, oh, I'm not doing this alone. And that's really, really cool.
Yeah. So are you familiar with BQ and Culture Night Market?
Yes.
Okay, so when you're saying this, that's what I'm thinking of, because I know actually on Anthony's podcast, they had an interview and we're talking about the reason for Culture Night Market and wanting to bring vendors together that were just doing things out of their house, that didn't have a space to go.
Because there are so many.
That's what I think it is. It's like we just may not see it as like physical locations, but there's a lot more vendors and people doing things. Yeah. In some way.
So in some way, yeah. I mean, when we have vendors come to like our open mic nights or like to our anniversaries, and you just put out a call and they come. It's the same thing with the artists. There are so many artists out there in San Jose, which is like a tech place, but then there's this underground artist scene, musicians, and mixed media, all kinds of things. And if you just put it out there and say we're looking for this, they just come, and that's I think why it's become sort of a hub, like Nirvana Soul being almost central to all these other pieces that have come together.
Right. So if we can move on to like an advice piece, like I love it. So I would say this has been successful, even though we may not see every struggle that happens behind the scenes, every little stressor with numbers or finances. Yeah. Overall, Nirvana Soul has made a huge positive impact in our community, especially throughout the South Bay, but especially in San Jose is where I saw it first and wanted to reach out to you. So I'm curious for, let's say like up and coming business owners that are either planning in that planning stage process or maybe just started their business, what should they do to reach this level of success that you now have?
Oh my gosh. I typically give the same pieces of advice is to start, like, you can do hard things. You have to believe that. And I think that's beyond just like believing in yourself. It's about your ability to act and execute and get things done, even that are maybe beyond what you're comfortable with. Like, stretch yourself, use your resources. Google is free, YouTube is free. Like, this is the stuff that we used, and we had to learn a lot of new stuff. Like, we just didn't know how to do, and it's possible. It really just shows you. And also, like, I'm not in any way trying to be coy or like this thing has been easy, because it's not. It's been tough, but the attitude we have about it is we knew it was going to be hard. Right? And so, like, when things come up, maybe we're a little naive about it, or we do just let it like roll off our shoulders, because we have faced so many crazy things that have happened in this business, like so many, that now if we like tell somebody that this thing happened, we'll say it so casual, and they're like, what? Like, that is a crazy thing. And we're like, oh, I guess it was, but like next week something else was gonna come up. So if you kind of just know, like, tomorrow's another day, anything you're feeling is temporary, the highs are temporary, the lows are temporary, you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, you'll be fine. This is very possible. And then also I try to encourage people to work in partnership. So the thing that has really been effective for us is that we're not going it alone. Like, I hear from other solopreneurs where it is a very lonely thing. And being able to bounce ideas and to lift each other up when you're feeling down, and just generally work together is game changing for us. Like, I know that I'm not in this by myself, so that means if this fails, I'm not going to fail alone. If it succeeds, we're not going to succeed alone. And I prefer that. And I think it also just helps you push further when you otherwise might give up. So yeah, those are probably my two pieces of advice.
I appreciate that too. I'm curious, with working with family, what are like the specific tips of working with family?
We get this question a lot, of course, because me and my sister.
Personality, right? Personality and blood.
Personality, blood, money. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here that would make for family drama. No, for real, exactly. My sister and I are 11 months apart.
Okay.
We've always been close. We've always been close. We work together. We live together. We just have the personalities that kind of gel, which was just a fortunate, lucky break. It was, because we hear from siblings all the time. They're like, ain't no way. Like, ain't no way I can work with my sister or my brother. And so we do our best to create separation when we can. Like, there's some ground rules we'll have around, like, if I'm at my day job, we can't talk about Nirvana Soul because I can't task switch that way. Or she'll say, like, when she's off, like, she's off for this moment. Right. And that doesn't mean we haven't bumped heads. We had to work our way through getting to that point. And, like, we always like to say, when we first opened, we were so exhausted. We were fighting all the time, like, over everything. Like, every little thing was setting us off. Like, I remember I came in maybe, because I still had my day job, so I would, like, go to work all day, and then I would come over to the shop. It was taking us forever to close, like 3-4 hours. I was like, how are we in here still this late? Like, this doesn't make any sense. So I'd be like, I'm going to create a checklist. And she would be so mad. You're not here all day. You don't know what we're dealing with. The line been out the door. And I was like, but if you just follow this checklist, then you should be able to get, like, it just was like, you know, stuff you just had to go through. Yeah. And so eventually we had to say, look, I think we're tired. I think we're fighting because we're tired. And now whenever we feel that exhaustion like bubbling up because we're just being nitpicky or whatever, we're like, remember when we first opened downtown?
You grew from it.
Yeah, we did grow from it. So,
I think a lot of people break from that. So.
Yes, and we were already in it, so we knew. And that's the beauty of family, at least for us, was like, you ain't going nowhere. Like, we in this. We're still going to be sisters at the end of the day. So be mad all you want to. Like, we going to wake up and go do this event tomorrow.
Right.
You know?
Make it happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. I really hope that, you know, our kids are 12 and 3 months, so it's a big gap.
Yeah.
I grew up with a big gap too. My brothers are 13 and 20 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
So
that is big gaps.
In a way, it's like, I love it because I grew up having older brothers who were almost like additional father figures because they could, you know, give me those lessons. But then not growing up with a sibling like close to my age, I always wanted one. I'm like, I want somebody to play with. I want a friend. But thinking about business now, like, I could tap with my brother and be like, oh, what are you doing for this? And what are you doing for that? And it's like a generation ahead of like being able to tell me all this advice. I'm like, great.
Yeah, I mean, because there's so much wisdom and value in hearing people who have just lived, right? Like, you gotta listen to people who are older than you. They know what they're talking about too. They do.
I just
sometimes we think we know everything.
I will not lie. I didn't want to listen for a while. So like my oldest brother, he's also in tech. He works for IBM in security, and then my middle brother, technically still older than me, but the middle brother is more of that entrepreneur. He's dabbled in a lot of things, did bodyguard and all these things, and he actually does like video media production for, I'm going to say cars, but I know he would be mad at me for just saying cars because it's like the sound systems, the overhauls, all of that, right? So all the years pass, you know, and I'm just like, oh yeah, they're doing their thing. And then once I got to college, I was like, I think I need to ask some questions. I need to start figuring out how y'all made all these things work.
Because once you're living it, you're like, the math don't be mathing all the time. I'm like, how are you able to do that? How are you able to live?
Right.
Yeah, and so
I'm like,
I'm glad that you can look to them.
Because I gotta work on this. So it's beautiful though to be able to like grow with our family in whatever ways. I know that's not the same case or situation for everybody, but I love hearing about how families have come together to make things happen like this. I feel very, very blessed to be able to do this with family that I get along with, right? I mean, I've heard of businesses where people don't get along, but they're in it, you know, and I just never wanted us to get to that point. So we are very intentional about remaining best friends and doing things outside of Nirvana Soul and making sure it's not completely consuming, which it easily could be. Absolutely. So I'm curious then, as we start like wrapping up, we've talked a little bit about Nirvana Soul as that hub for culture and inclusion really within our South Bay area. What do you forecast being, I guess, like the state of Black businesses in the South Bay, like looking 5-10 years out? You think we're going to be in the same situation?
No,
or you think we're going to grow?
I think we'll grow. I do. I have a lot of reason to believe that things will get better. I have a lot of hope because I can see change happening now. I see people working on things. People reach out to us with their ideas, and they're taking the steps to actually build and make that happen. So I honestly think it's going to get so much better. Yeah, I really have a lot of hope in what the future has for Black businesses.
Yay. That makes me hopeful. And I'm hoping that episodes like this of the podcast, like sharing your story is important to me because it kind of creates that pathway where people can be like, they did it. I can do it. Like you said, I can do hard things. Somebody else did it. Like we can start following in those footsteps and using each other as resources. Yeah,
and exactly. Also, just like we might already be here and we just don't know it. So like coming sort of out with it and sharing more and just living more like out loud with what you're doing could be really helpful because someone needs to see that. Like that's really what we've taken away from being so transparent and open with our business is that people are like, oh, this is exactly what I need to see to know that it was possible. And I know that representation would have done wonders for us too. We just didn't have a lot of places to look. And now that's why we want multiple shops. Like if we have 20 shops, that means there's 20 communities that will be filled with people who look like us, who be like, oh shoot, like this is a thing that can happen. That wasn't something that existed before. So yeah, that's why we want to do this over and over and over.
I love it. So is that the vision for the future of Nirvana Soul? I know there's like 4 in the works, but is the vision to get to like 20 or more?
We want 20. Yeah.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
I love it. I'm excited. I'm like, because we're seeing you at 4, and then we'll have to come back when it's 8 and when it's 16.
And y'all be like, damn, I was there at the beginning. Yes.
I'm so excited. Well, good. Okay, so then my last question to you, is there anything else that you want to share for aspiring entrepreneurs, for our community, anything you want people to know?
I would just say continue to put yourself out there. Try, fail, try again. There is no wrong way to do this. And as long as you're just putting a step in front of the other one, like, you'll get to wherever you're trying to get to. I am someone who believes the universe will conspire to help you reach your goals if you have clarity about them, you have a strong vision, and you're willing to put in the work. Because at the end of the day, there's still no shortcuts. Trust me, I looked, I couldn't find any. I would take it if there was one. Ain't no shortcuts. Like, you have to actually put in the work. And I believe in all of us. So there's enough room for everybody to succeed.
I absolutely agree with that. Well, that's all I have for you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for opening up your shop for us so that we could do this after hours, of course.
Yeah, of course.
And for sharing the dream, the vision, and the work that's gone in along the way, because y'all are definitely making that impact. We can feel it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate you.
That's it. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Here to Uplift podcast. I hope you're finishing this episode feeling inspired and ready to take action. We want to keep the stories and inspiration coming, so please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with a friend. We really appreciate it. Welcome to the Uplift community, friend. Please join us for another episode soon.